The heavy wooden doors of the Grand Horizon Hotel slammed shut with a finality that echoed through the quiet night air, leaving Fatima and Marissa standing on the marble steps in their wedding gowns. This was supposed to be the beginning of their forever, but the manager's sneering words still rang in their ears. "We don't accommodate your kind here." Marissa squeezed Fatima's hand tighter, her own knuckles white as she fought back the tears that threatened to ruin the careful makeup from their ceremony just hours earlier. Fatima felt the world tilt beneath her feet. The luxurious lobby they had glimpsed through the glass had promised romance and celebration with its crystal chandeliers and fresh flower arrangements, but now it felt like a fortress built to keep people like them out. She had dreamed of this night for months: the soft sheets, the champagne, the chance to finally breathe as wives without the weight of the world pressing down. Instead, here they were rejected on the most important night of their lives. Marissa turned to her, voice steady but laced with fury. "This is illegal, Fatima. Discrimination, plain and simple. We booked that suite months ago, paid in full. They can't do this just because we're two women who love each other." But Fatima knew it wasn't that simple. The owner's face, Mr. Harlan, a middle-aged man with a stiff collar and judgmental eyes, had made it clear. His hotel, his rules, and in his world, their marriage was an abomination, not a union to be celebrated. Fatima pulled her veil slightly, adjusting it, as if that small act could shield her from the humiliation. At 28, she had already lost so much: her family's approval, her cultural ties that once defined her. Growing up in a traditional Pakistani-American household in Queens, she had hidden her truth for years until Marissa came along like a force of nature, sweeping her into a love that felt both liberating and terrifying. They had met 3 years ago at a community fundraiser in Manhattan. Marissa, a sharp-minded financial analyst with her bright laugh and unapologetic spirit, had bumped into Fatima while reaching for the same coffee. From that moment, their connection was electric, built on late-night talks, shared books, and the quiet understanding of two women navigating a world that often demanded they choose sides. Marissa came from a more accepting family in Brooklyn, though even they had their reservations about the speed of the wedding. But Fatima, her parents had made their stance crystal clear when she came out 2 years ago. Her mother had cried for days, her father had barely spoken to her since. This wedding had been a rebellion, a declaration that love trumped tradition. Now, as they stood there, the cool night breeze whipping around their dresses, Fatima wondered if she had been selfish. Marissa deserved a perfect night, not this rejection that mirrored every whispered judgment they had faced. "Let's just go somewhere else," Marissa said, pulling out her phone to search for alternatives. But the damage was done, the magic of the day fracturing under the weight of reality. They hailed a cab, the driver giving them curious glances at their attire, but saying nothing as they directed him to a smaller boutique hotel nearby. In the back seat, Fatima leaned her head on Marissa's shoulder, inhaling the familiar scent of her perfume mixed with the faint trace of wedding flowers. "I can't believe this is happening," she whispered. "After everything we went through to get here, the arguments, the planning, the way I stood up to my brother when he said I'd regret this." Marissa kissed her forehead, her touch gentle yet fierce. "You won't regret it, love. This is just one bigot in a city full of people who will celebrate us. Tomorrow we'll file a complaint. No one gets to treat us like this." But as the cab weaved through the neon-lit streets of New York, Fatima felt the familiar knot of anxiety tighten in her chest. Her phone had been buzzing earlier, ignored during the reception, but now the messages from her cousin hinted at the storm brewing back home. Her mother had not attended the wedding, sending instead a long text about how Fatima was breaking their hearts and dishonoring the family name. The cultural expectations, the religious undertones, the fear of what the community would say, all of it pressed on her like an invisible hand. Upon arriving at the alternative hotel, a modest place called the Haven, they were relieved to get a room, though it paled in comparison to the Grand Horizon. As they unpacked their small overnight bags, the reality settled in. This was their wedding night, yet instead of joy there was this undercurrent of anger and sadness. Marissa ordered room service, champagne and strawberries, but the celebration felt forced. Fatima sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Her dark hair cascaded down her back, the white gown hugging her figure in a way that made her feel beautiful and exposed all at once. Marissa approached from behind, wrapping her arms around her waist. "We did it, Fatima. We're married. No hotel manager can take that away from us." Yet even in that embrace, Fatima couldn't shake the doubt. How many more doors would slam in their faces? How much more would her family demand she sacrifice? Would Marissa grow tired of being the strong one, always fighting the battles? outside the city hummed on indifferent to their pain. But little did they know that across town at the Grand Horizon events were unfolding that would change everything. Mr. Harlan was about to face his own reckoning, and the spark had been lit by the very women he had turned away. As midnight approached, Marissa stepped out to the balcony to make a call, her voice low and determined. Fatima didn't ask who it was, but she had a sinking feeling. Marissa worked in finance and had heard rumors about the Grand Horizon for months, whispers of cooked books and dodged taxes from industry contacts. In her anger, Marissa had decided enough was enough. One anonymous tip to the right authorities could bring the whole facade crashing down. Fatima watched her wife through the glass, wondering if revenge was the answer, or if it would only bring more pain. The night that should have been theirs was now tangled in threads of justice and consequence. And as the hours ticked by, the first signs of the inspector's arrival loomed on the horizon, setting the stage for a confrontation that would test the very foundation of their new marriage. It was just past 1 in the morning when the first black SUVs with government plates pulled up to the Grand Horizon Hotel. Fatima and Marissa had left the Haven after Marissa received a quick text from her contact confirming the tip had landed, and the team was already en route. They stood across the street in the shadows, hearts pounding as agents in dark suits streamed through the grand entrance, flashing badges and papers. The same manager who had slammed the door on them now stood pale and stammering, directing staff aside, while Mr. Harlan, the owner, was escorted out in handcuffs, his face twisted in disbelief. Marissa gripped Fatima's arm, a small smile of satisfaction crossing her lips. "They're here. He can't hide anymore." Fatima turned to her, eyes wide with shock. "You did this, didn't you?" "The call." Marissa nodded without apology. "I couldn't let him get away with treating us like garbage, Fatima. I have seen the files for months. This isn't revenge, it's accountability." But Fatima felt a wave of nausea. They had just been married and already their night was stained with this secret action. What if it backfires? What if his lawyers come after us for the tip? They watched as news vans began to arrive, lights flashing, reporters shouting questions. The raid was happening fast because the tip had accelerated an ongoing probe into the hotel's chain for years of underreported income and offshore accounts. Fatima pulled Marissa back into the shadows. "Let's go back to the room. I need to think." In the cab ride back, silence hung heavy between them. Marissa reached for her hand, but Fatima pulled away slightly, the first crack in their new unity. Back at the Haven, Fatima paced the small room, her wedding gown now crumpled on the chair. "My mother will hear about this. The whole community will think I orchestrated it to punish them for not coming to the wedding." Marissa sat on the bed, running her fingers through her auburn hair. "We didn't orchestrate anything. He brought this on himself with his hate and his crimes. You saw how he looked at us, like we were dirty." Fatima stopped pacing, her voice trembling. "But did we have to be the ones to light the match, Marissa? I left everything for you, my family, my traditions. If this blows up, they will never speak to me again." The phone rang, then Fatima's mother calling from Queens. Fatima answered on speaker, her voice small. "Mama." The older woman's words came in a rush of Urdu mixed with English. "What have you done, Fatima? The hotel on the news, they say a couple complained. And now the owner is arrested. Your father is having chest pains. You are killing us with this lifestyle. Come home alone and fix this before it is too late." Fatima sank to the floor, tears streaming. "I can't, Mama. I'm married now. This is who I am." The line went dead after a sob, and the sound of her mother hanging up. Marissa pulled her into an embrace. "I'm sorry, love. But we can't hide forever. This raid is bigger than us. It will show the world that prejudice has consequences." Yet as they lay together that night, Fatima stared at the ceiling, replaying every family dinner, where her mother had prayed for her to find a good Muslim husband, every cousin who had whispered about shame. Marissa fell asleep first, her breathing steady, but Fatima stayed awake, weighing the price of their love against the pain spreading through her family. By morning, the local news was full of the story. The Grand Horizon, a landmark known for its conservative clientele, was under full investigation. Reporters mentioned an anonymous complaint linked to a discrimination incident the night before, though no names were released yet. Fatima scrolled through her phone, seeing messages from her sister Sophia. "Sis, call me now. Mom is in the hospital. Stressed, they say." Fatima showed Marissa the text, her hands shaking. "See what we started? I have to go to her." Marissa stood firm. "We go together. We're wives now. But Fatima shook her head. Not yet. Not like this. The decision to face her family alone would be the first of many that tested their bond. They checked out of the haven and drove toward Queens in Marissa's car, the city waking up around them. Fatima rehearsed what she would say, how to explain the raid without admitting Marissa's role. But deep down she knew the truth would come out. And when it did, the costs would be higher than either of them imagined. The love that had carried them through so much now carried the weight of choices that could break more than just a hotel empire. The drive to Queens felt endless, with Fatima gripping the door handle as Marissa navigated traffic. When they arrived at the family home, her mother was resting on the couch, pale but alert, her sister Sophia hovering with a glass of water. Fatima rushed in, hugging her mother tightly. Mama, I'm so sorry. The older woman pushed her away gently but firmly. Sorry does not fix what you have done. The community is talking. They say you and that woman caused this trouble at the hotel. Sophia crossed her arms, her eyes avoiding Fatima's. I told you this marriage would bring nothing but pain, sis. Marissa stood in the doorway, unsure whether to enter. Fatima motioned for her to stay back. This is not just about the hotel, Mama. Mr. Harlan broke the law. His policies hurt people like us every day. Her mother clutched her chest. And now your father is talking to the imam about disowning you completely. You chose this path, Fatima. The path of sin, and now you drag us into scandal. Tears welled in Fatima's eyes, but she stood tall. I chose love, Mama. Real love. The kind that doesn't hide. Sophia pulled Fatima aside in the kitchen, her voice low. You need to make this right. Tell the news it was a misunderstanding. Drop any complaint. Our business, the family store, relies on that community. If they boycott us because of you, we lose everything. Fatima felt the betrayal sting. You're asking me to choose them over my wife, Sophia. Her sister shrugged. Sometimes family is the only thing left when the world turns on you. Back in the living room, Marissa tried to speak calmly. Mrs. Rodriguez, we love each other. We just want to live our lives. The raid has nothing to do with us directly. But Fatima's mother waved her hand. You are the reason my daughter is lost. Leave my house. Fatima stepped between them. No. She is my wife. If she goes, I go. The room fell silent except for her mother's quiet sobs. They left soon after, the door closing behind them with a soft click that felt like another slam. In the car, Marissa finally spoke. I should have told you about the tip before I made it. But seeing that man reject us broke something in me, Fatima. I have spent years watching powerful people like him skate by on lies. Fatima stared out the window. I understand the anger, but we are supposed to be partners. Decisions like that affect both of us. They drove back to their small apartment in Brooklyn, the one they had shared for a year before the wedding. The space felt smaller now, filled with unpacked wedding gifts and half-finished plans for a honeymoon that might never happen. That afternoon, a lawyer friend called Marissa, confirming they had grounds for a discrimination suit against the hotel. The raid made the case stronger because it showed a pattern of shady behavior. Fatima listened on speaker, her mind racing. If we sue now, it looks like we caused the raid. Marissa shook her head. The raid was coming anyway. My tip just sped it up. But Fatima saw the moral line blurring. What if suing destroys more lives? The managers, children, the staff who had nothing to do with it. By evening, social media had caught wind of the story, though names were still protected. Posts flooded in, some calling the couple heroes for exposing a bigot, others labeling them troublemakers who ruined a landmark business. Fatima read the hateful comments, her chest tightening. One from a supposed family friend read, Fatima has brought shame on all of us. She closed the app and turned to Marissa. Maybe we should just let it go. Move on and build our life quietly. Marissa took her hands. And let people like Harlan keep doing what they do. No love. We fight for what is right even if it costs us. The fight had begun, and with it came the first real test of how much each was willing to lose. Fatima lay awake again that night, wondering if love could survive when every choice seemed to demand a sacrifice from someone she cared about. The next morning brought the first direct backlash. Fatima's phone lit up with a call from her boss at the marketing firm. The HR department had received complaints from clients who recognized her from vague news descriptions. They suggested she take a leave until the story died down. Fatima hung up, stunned. My job, Marissa. They are punishing me for something that happened on our wedding night. Marissa hugged her tightly. We will get through this. I can cover us for a while. But the fear settled deep in Fatima's bones, the realization that their private moment had become public ammunition. Sophia showed up at their apartment unannounced, her face tight with worry. "I didn't want to do this, but Mom asked me to." She handed Fatima an envelope with legal papers from their father outlining the disownment process for cultural and financial reasons. Fatima read the words, her hands trembling. "They are cutting me out of the will, Sophia. Everything, the house, the savings." Sophia looked away. "You forced their hand, sis. The raid made it worse. People are saying you tipped them off." Fatima froze. How would they know that? Later that day, Hannah, the young receptionist from the Grand Horizon, reached out through a mutual contact. She had been fired after the raid for suspected disloyalty and wanted to meet. In a quiet coffee shop, Hannah shared her story. "I saw how he treated you too. It was the last straw for me. I had evidence of the tax stuff for months, but was scared to speak up. Your situation gave me courage. Now I have nothing. No job, no reference." Fatima felt the guilt double. "We never meant for you to lose everything, Hannah." The young woman shrugged. "Someone had to pay the price. At least the truth is out." Marissa defended their path on the walk home. "Hannah chose to act just like I did. It's not on us." But Fatima couldn't shake the chain of consequences. Back at the apartment, another confrontation waited. Marissa's mother, Claire, called, this time her tone softer but firm. "Sweetheart, I support you, but this scandal is affecting your brother's business too. Clients are asking questions. Maybe step back from the lawsuit. Let the government handle the taxes." Marissa argued back, her voice rising. "Mom, this is bigger than one lawsuit. It's about standing up so no one else gets turned away on their wedding night." That evening, a close friend of Fatima's from college posted a public message distancing herself, saying she could not condone the destruction of a family business over personal issues. The betrayal cut deep. Fatima cried in Marissa's arms. "Everyone is choosing sides. And I am losing all of them." Marissa wiped her tears. "Not everyone, love. I am right here." But the isolation grew. They canceled their small reception plans and spent the night talking through every decision that led them here, the choice to marry openly, the refusal to hide, the tip that changed everything. Fatima began to question her own strength. Had she been naive to think love would shield them from the world? Had Marissa's fire for justice blinded them both to the human cost? As the days blurred into one another, the pressure mounted, and the cracks in their relationship widened with each new message, each new loss. The price was becoming clearer, and neither knew if they could afford to keep paying it. The confrontation came sooner than expected. Mr. Harlan himself reached out through his lawyer, requesting a private meeting at a neutral office downtown. Fatima and Marissa arrived dressed simply, but with their wedding rings visible like armor. The owner sat across the table, his eyes cold. "You two have ruined me. My life's work destroyed because you couldn't accept a simple policy." Marissa leaned forward. "Your policy is illegal and your books are a crime." Harlan laughed bitterly. "And now my staff is out of work. My daughter had to drop college because the tuition money is frozen. Is that the justice you wanted?" Fatima spoke quietly. "We didn't start this. You did when you turned us away." But inside she wrestled with the image of an innocent daughter paying for her father's choices. The meeting ended with no agreement, only threats of countersuits for defamation. Outside, Marissa was triumphant. "He is scared. We have the upper hand." Fatima stopped on the sidewalk. "But at what cost, Marissa? Look at what we are doing to people. Hannah lost her job. My mother is ill. Your family is strained. Are we any better than him if we keep pushing?" That night the moral dilemma peaked. Fatima suggested dropping the discrimination suit to focus on their marriage. Marissa refused. "If we back down now, it means their hate wins." Fatima exploded for the first time. "And if we don't, my family is gone forever. Is that the marriage you want? One built on ashes?" Sophia had texted earlier with an ultimatum from their mother: choose the family or the wife, and the consequences would be permanent. Fatima stared at the message for hours, weighing the life she left behind against the one she was building. A new betrayal arrived the next day. Sophia had spoken to a reporter off the record, sharing details about Fatima's coming out and suggesting the couple had targeted the hotel because of personal grudge. The article went viral, twisting the narrative. Fatima confronted her sister over the phone. "How could you, Sophia? You are my blood." Her sister cried on the line. I had to protect Mom. She was going to have a real heart attack. You left us no choice. The call ended in sobs from both sides and Fatima collapsed on the couch feeling the full weight of family loyalty turned against her. Marissa held her through the night whispering promises of a future where they would rebuild. But Fatima wondered if rebuilding was possible when every foundation seemed cracked. The inner conflict raged. She loved Marissa more than life, yet the guilt over the pain radiating outward threatened to pull her under. Decisions had to be made, and each one carried the potential to break what remained of her world. Weeks passed, and the investigation deepened with more evidence surfacing about the hotel's finances. Fatima and Marissa attended a preliminary hearing where they gave statements about the refusal. The judge seemed sympathetic, but warned both sides about the human element. Outside the courthouse, Hannah approached them again, now working a low-paying job, but holding her head high. I don't regret speaking up. You two showed me it was possible. Her words gave Fatima a spark of hope amid the darkness. Fatima's mother called one last time, her voice weaker but resolute. I love you, daughter, but I cannot accept this life you chose. The family will move on without you unless you come home alone. Fatima listened, tears falling. I can't, Mama. I won't choose between love and blood. The line went silent for the final time. Marissa stood beside her, offering strength without words. They walked home hand in hand through the bustling streets, realizing the sacrifices had reshaped them both. In quiet moments, Fatima reflected on every choice: the decision to marry openly, the refusal to back down, the silent support of Marissa's tip that brought justice. Marissa admitted her own doubts. Maybe I acted too fast with the tip, but I would do it again for you. They talked late into the nights, unpacking the betrayals, the losses, and the unexpected strength they found in each other. The awakening came slowly. They were no longer the same women who had stood on those hotel steps. They were forged by fire, ready to build a life that honored their love while carrying the scars of what it cost. They decided not to pursue the full lawsuit, instead letting the government handle the taxes and focusing on advocacy work for others facing similar prejudice. The price had been steep: lost family ties, strained friendships, job uncertainty. But in its place grew a bond unbreakable, and a purpose larger than themselves. As they sat on their balcony one evening watching the city lights, Fatima turned to Marissa. We paid dearly, but we stayed true. When the price of authenticity is the ruin of everything you once held dear, did Fatima and Marissa choose correctly by standing against the hotel's hate, or would silence have spared their loved ones unnecessary suffering?